Wish you could record an entire series without having to remember to hit record every week? We've got you covered. Just press the I button. When you see this icon, it means you can record an entire season of that series. Simply press the OK button, select the record season option, and your DSTV Explorer will do the rest. It will even stack all the series together in your playlist, making it easy to find an episode when you're ready to watch. The DSTV Explorer, effortless entertainment.
This week on Sizzle, we preview brand new movies on circuit, starting with the romantic musical comedy drama La La Land, about a musician and an aspiring actress who meet and fall in love in LA. Natalie Portman portrays one of America's most loved women in Jackie. We share in the premiere of locally produced film Shepherds and Butchers. Catch Sizzle every Friday at 10 p.m., Saturday at 12:30 p.m. and Sunday at 9:30 p.m.
You were a warder in the prison service. I'll suggest you find out what's in store for you.
A complicated balancing act by the Minister of Finance. Nonetheless, we had a great day today, but the markets responded quite differently. I'm wondering what it is that created this little bit of a bubble that created the markets to go out of sorts. Money not being in the markets, the rand declining by more than 1.0%. We don't know what it all creates. All we know is that this is BizPulse, and it is that view of in the evening, and we're going to be talking to you about all about it and even more about business. My name is Clive Robertson Smith, and it is a wonderful halala to you at the home there, and a good evening and welcome to BizPulse, your business, your heartbeat of the business world. Taking a look, obviously, at your headlines this evening, we're starting off there. A showdown could be looming between government, Eskom and independent power producers. This after Pravin Gordhan moved to guarantee continued government support for IPPs. While alternative energy is under pressure in the sub-Saharan African region, the South African gas industry continues to strengthen. And Small Business Development Minister Ms. Lindiwe Zulu says there is a need for government and the private sector to work together to invest and support small businesses to help create jobs and reduce the levels of poverty in the country. And so we'd like to look at your markets. I don't know what happened, but we know they are in the negative. As you can see there, the JSE indicators, the all share was down by more than 0.8%. If you look at the top 40 as well, suffering there by 0.9%. All of them under the percentage point, so obviously it means that there must be something significantly that has not moved the market to the other side. The industrials there also down by 0.78%. I'm not certain what it is that would have created this downturn. I know that the emerging markets have had a very rough time at the start of this particular week. However, this is evident of a slowing down of the economy. The Chinese numbers coming out very low, and obviously because we are married to them as the number one trading partner, it has already started to create a little bit of problems for us. You look at the financials there. They're down by more than 0.6%. The resources sector as well down by more than 1.3%. It's all looking really, really dire. The JSE minus, now look at the gold minus and your platinum status. Now, when you see all this green, obviously you can see that the gold minus up by 0.25%, and if you look at also the platinum minus also up by 0.28%. What that tells you is that people are putting money in safe havens, and they're looking at commodities as an opportunity for them to save their monies. if you look at your currencies there, the rand doing really, really relatively well. Despite all the volatility that we saw yesterday, the rand still sitting at 13 rand and 88 cents. Look at the pound, the UK pound. If you want to buy that, it's going to cost you about 16 rand and 91 cents. And if you want to buy the euro, by the way, it's going to cost you another 15 rand and 18 cents. But that is also weakened against the US dollar if you look at the 0.09%. We're looking at your commodities right now, and your gold price and your platinum price looking very, very strong. It means that investors are actually looking at that as an alternative. And if you look at your Brent crude price there, down by 0.62%. What does that say? It means that if it breaks the $50 mark, we might see another petrol price downgrade before December. That might be a very good news for obviously our consumers out there who are already under pressure, unfortunately. But that is a very good number. Anything below 50 there is still very good for Brent crude price. It means that our diesel and our petrol might be going down before the end of the year. Other than that, the positives that you see there, obviously it means that the guys are really, really looking good and looking strong, and they're trying to consolidate. So that's why they're protecting their capital, and that's why it's still being kept there at the gold and platinum prices. Everybody's still looking for a safe haven to protect their capital. And for now, it's time for our top story. A showdown could be looming between government, Eskom and independent power producers, or as they're popularly known, IPPs. This is after Pravin Gordhan's yesterday's speech moved to guarantee continued government support for the IPPs. The renewable energy sector also happens to be South Africa's largest foreign direct investors. But Eskom says there is no need for an alarm. Giovanni Majane has the story for you in a
Minister
better way.
Jumat Pedersen and the National Energy Regulator have approved another 37 independent power projects, a further 58 billion rands in investment, and some 4,800 construction jobs will commence.
Eskom says people should not read too much into the mid-term budget statement by Minister Pravin Gordhan. The power utility has always pursued a mixed energy strategy to cater to the energy needs of Africa's largest economy.
Eskom supports the introduction of the renewable energy projects and the IPPs as a whole. So far, as I speak to you, we have 40 companies that we have signed on. They are producing in total just over 2,000 megawatts. By the end of 2018, we will have about 6,000 megawatts into the grid that will be coming from renewable energy projects.
Regardless of the outcome, experts say renewable energy should remain an important contributor to the national grid.
There should be, and there is not, an up-to-date integrated resource plan for electricity. That is the issue. That has not been done. Any decision going forward without an updated integrated resource plan for electricity is not in the country's interest, and that is exactly what Pravin Gordhan said.
But the elephant in the room happens to be that Eskom has previously said it was not comfortable with the high costs of IPPs. The energy giant is also worried about oversupply.
Some of the projects are very expensive. For example, there was one particular project that we were supposed to sign around July this year. It was going to cost Eskom about 53 billion rand over the course of 20 years. And it's those kind of things that we are saying they should be looked into, and we're happy that the Minister of Energy actually also agrees with us.
In light of Finance Minister Pravin Gordhan's comment on the backing of independent power producers, Eskom agrees that renewable energy resources are of interest and both will be beneficial for South Africans. Giovanni Majane for ANN7, Megawatt Park, Johannesburg.
You couldn't possibly ask for a more explosive interview than that one. That was very well compacted by a reporter. That's just joining me in studio now. Let's talk to Dr. Calvin Kem, the CEO of Nuclear Africa Energy Consultants. Calvin, tell me, Doc, is it the done deal? Are we going to spend this trillion rand for us to be able to get nuclear power?
It's absolutely a done deal in the sense we're going ahead. It's not a done deal that we're going to be spending a trillion rand.
Yeah.
Nobody has officially announced a trillion rand. South African scientists and engineers have calculated a figure of about 650 billion, not the trillion, but that also is a figure quoted now before foreign countries have been able to give their quotations. It's like asking an architect to tell you how much it's going to cost to build a house when you haven't clearly told him yet what you want in the house. So this is the situation we're at now, and we look forward with great excitement to the next phase, which is going ahead with building 3 power stations, each of 2 to 3 nuclear reactors. It's not one reactor, it's not one power station, and it's a program that unfolds over 10 years. So this amount of money is not a one-shot, once-off type of thing, which is portrayed by many people. It's something that will unfold over a decade plus, and it'll build 3 power stations, large nuclear power stations.
Let's be honest, Doc. We've seen the over-expenditure of Malatse. We've seen what's happened in Palabora. We know that Eskom has often taken longer than they need to create anything, to be honest with you. And we know that this is not going to take 10 years. It might take 15, 20, or even 50 years for that matter to get that nuclear. Is this a coincidental deal to say that this is what we want to go for? Or are there other alternatives that we could have looked at that would have been much cheaper and easier to the consumer?
No, there are no other alternatives. If you want stable, big power that runs 24 hours a day, then you need nuclear. At the moment, most of South Africa's coal is produced, most of South Africa's electricity is produced by coal, but all the coal sits on the far northeast of the country, and we've got a very big country. The distance from Pretoria to Cape Town is the same distance as Rome to London, and we are sending electricity from the other side of Pretoria to Cape Town. Currently, Cape Town is the only, can I say, city that runs 100% on green energy because it's totally nuclear powered, you see, and nuclear is green energy as far as I'm concerned. But the nuclear reactors in the Cape, just by Cape Town, produce about half the electricity of the total Western Cape, but the other half comes from the coal fields. They're just too far away. It is strategically unwise to keep doing this. So we need to produce more big power from the south upwards, and that means nuclear. As far as the renewables are concerned, I'm not opposed to renewables being in the right place at the right time, but you cannot get past the fact that you only get solar power in the daytime, for that matter in the middle of the daytime only, and that you only get wind when the wind blows. So you've got to decide, are you wanting to run hospitals and electric trains and so on wind and solar? And the answer to my mind is that's not a good idea. The wind and solar must be applied where it's right, but if you want big, reliable power, then nuclear is the answer. And, we know what we're doing.
Doc, I wouldn't want to be load shedded when I'm in the hospital and I've got an operation taking place. That's for certain. But, you know, there's a lot of argument, and maybe perhaps it's a bit more political than anything else, about the costs of the nuclear plant and what it would mean for the South African consumer. Obviously, a lot of consumers, my viewers, are certainly worried about what the cost is going to mean to them and if this is a wise decision. We saw this in the budget in February. It had already been introduced. Now it's confirmed that Eskom will be actually going into this. Is it a monopoly to have Eskom as the only powerhouse, which is state-owned, by the way, to be participating in this type of energy? Or is there another alternative, perhaps maybe, at looking at the IPPs?
I think IPP type of approach is very good. Now, for a start, Eskom is not likely to be the only one involved. I'm also the chairman of the Nuclear Energy Corporation. Okay. And we are playing a role with Eskom as well in this. This is what's being proposed at the moment, where the nuclear specialists at NEXA will be controlling the fuel, the nuclear innards of the nuclear reactor and so on. So it'll be a coalition type arrangement with Eskom. I think it's very valid that Eskom has slipped up with Medupi and Kusile in some ways. They've admitted themselves that they've learned some lessons. They did very well in the past building some of the world's biggest coal-fired power stations. Then quite a few years passed, and I think they forgot a little bit about what it was involved with, and so they went on as usual and have been bitten a little bit. But I think they're coming back strongly, so I've got great confidence that they know what they're doing and in collaboration with others. Now, you asked particularly about an IPP type approach. As far as I'm concerned, the way to do it is that you need as much private sector involvement as you can possibly get. You need a hierarchy of companies. You want the people pouring the concrete, those doing the steel works, the piping, the underground water, the electricity supplies, welding, machining, all those sorts of things. Now, you talk about it being expensive. South Africa built Coburg. It was built by South Africans. If you stood on the Coburg site, it was a bit before my time, but I know some people who retired who were there and they confirmed this. If you looked around, all you saw was South Africans driving the vehicles, welding, cutting, building, and so on. This idea that somehow a foreign country is going to arrive here and build us a nuclear reactor while we sit on the hill and watch them through binoculars is just wrong. Our guys did it then, and we did it on time and on budget with Coburg. There's absolutely no reason why we can't do it on time and on budget this time. But we mustn't have project delays, which means people falling over each other's feet.
Yeah.
Today, the finance minister said we need cooperation and we need confidence, and we've got to build growth for the country. And that's exactly what we need. We need the self-confidence as a country to say we've got a target, let's do it, and then we need collaboration without somebody always upsetting the apple cart or putting their foot in somebody else's way. And that's
you know what,
we'll
Doc?
stop.
You're the first person that I can speak to confidently and say, you spoke about the Lions and the limping buffalo very easily about this particular one. Thank you very much. That was Dr. Calvin Kemp. Thank you very much, the CEO of Nuclear Africa Energy Consultants, and we really appreciate your time this evening. Thank you very much for joining us, too.
You're welcome.
Disposable salaries decline while pension increases continue to gain momentum. This is according to the latest BankServe Africa Disposable Salary Index, BDSI, that is called, for September. The BDSI shows the average disposable salary declined by more than 0.3% in the first 9 months of 2016, and on a year-on-year basis, this is the first time in the BDSI's records that salaries have declined over a long period of time. And arguments that the sentiment that disposable salaries are unlikely to beat inflation in 2016. While disposable salaries tend to increase towards the end of the year, the current trend suggests that this may not be the strong due to higher inflation and weak economic growth. Unlike disposable salaries, private banks' pensions are increasing at a very fast rate. This according to the September BankServe Africa Car Private Pension Index data. In the 9 months to September, the average pension increased by 1.8% year on year.
I think that we actually got a tax increase because the personal income taxes did not make enough provision for inflation on the one side, and on the other side, I think inflation just certainly is much higher than last year, and that's eroded salaries quite a bit, whereas pensions, part of pensions, about 25% or so, are put into other currencies, and those returns by the end of last year were very, very good.
You better not call her Ginger, but the Small Business Development Minister, Linda Zulu, says there's a need for government and the private sector to work together and invest to support small businesses. Speaking at the annual 3rd National SMME Policy Colloquium, Ms. Zulu says this will help create jobs and reduce the levels of poverty in South Africa. ANN7's reporter and business desk, Mpho, the Tower, Matoho, has more.
Whilst entrepreneurial activity in South Africa has been very low at a staggering 34% over the years, the Global Entrepreneurship Monitor's 2014-2015 report shows that it has somehow increased marginally over the last 10 years. Small Business Development Minister Lindiwe Zulu believes that SMMEs will provide some relief for the challenges facing South Africa's economy.
SMMEs and cooperatives can be the main drivers of economic growth, poverty reduction and job creation. This has been proven globally that SMMEs are the heartbeat of stable, growing and better performing economies such as China, India, Germany, amongst others, and greater source of job creation, economic empowerment and transformation.
While the global economy continues to tumble and its impact being felt in our shores, Finance Minister Pravin Gordhan says it's time South Africa shifts its focus on sectors such as manufacturing to help grow the country's economy.
The budget framework forms part of an enabling environment for investment-led growth, recognizing that a turnaround in the business cycle will create opportunities for expansion by South African firms. Infrastructure investment and financing of housing and enterprise development will give greater impetus to growth over the period ahead.
Meanwhile, CEO of Small Business Development Institute, Xolani Qhubeka, says the launch of SMME Policy Master Plan would work towards creating jobs and fostering collaboration between the public and private sectors.
Therefore, the master plan must be a private sector-led initiative with substantial backing and support from the Department of Small Business Development. The department can clearly assist through mobilizing and marshalling support from all tiers of government and state-owned companies, and to instill a coordinated mechanism through a concise common SMME blueprint.
Experts say SMMEs remain a hotbed of job creation in the country, and with support, this can also eradicate unemployment. They further believe that South African businesses have the prospects of growing even in this current economic climate. Mpamato, ANN7, Tembisa.
And now for your learning pulse. Renewable energy. Energy that is collected from resources which are naturally replenished on a human timescale, such as sunlight, wind, rain, tides, waves, and heat, and sometimes tension if you're married. The South African gas industry continues to strengthen, while alternative energy is under pressure in the sub-Saharan African region. Many opt for oil and paraffin as an alternative. However, gas represents a safe and cheap alternative, more specifically to households. Education within the gas industry has not been extended to the consumer. The reason why there is little known about that piece of powerful energy, whether you are cooking, washing, or even warming up your house to reasonable temperatures. Gas provides a safer way to alternative energy. We spoke to industry about the challenges that the industry faces and how we can curb the going to the future. And joining me in studio is John Parry from SAQCC Gas, Kevin Robertson, the CEO of Liquefied Petroleum Gas Safety Association of Southern Africa, and we're not forgetting Mr. Jakes Malatse from the Department of Labour. Gentlemen, it's an absolute pleasure to have you here. The different scenario, obviously, you're in television now, so you can smile.
Thank you.
Let's just take this a little bit extra and look at what it is, what gas industry actually represents in South Africa. Perhaps we start with you, Calvin.
Yes, the South African SAQCC Gas is the South African Qualifications and Certification Committee, and it's made up of 4 associations with different gases. And the gases are LP gas, as Kevin is involved in. There's air conditioning gas, there's natural gases that come from Mozambique, and then there's compressed gases that go into bottles, nitrogen, those kind of gases.
Yeah, but John, you're referring to the ones that we see on TV as adverts, and they show how the consumer must lock them up so that you're not to let the other external gases to be affected.
So just
you're referring to the gases that we use at our households.
At the household,
yeah.
In industry, and the like. Yes.
Fantastic. And you're obviously in the air conditioning industry.
Mm-hmm.
You understand that much better. Do you see the industry growing in South Africa?
Definitely, the industry is growing in South Africa, with cheaper imports coming into the country. More people can afford air conditioning, and the industry is on the up.
And obviously global warming is helping you up.
Definitely.
Calvin, we discussed a lot about the safety, yes, and the fact that obviously the industry is growing and there is potential. I said to you that there's very little of small to medium enterprises penetrating the market, particularly talking about black business. And you gave me a scenario that made it actually make sense, the reason why it's so tight to get involved. Can you elaborate further on that?
Well, I think one of the main reasons is the limited supply of LP gas at the moment. So if you haven't got sufficient volumes to supply, you need to be fairly careful about how you promote it. That scenario has changed, and we now have a couple there's a import storage facility happening in Saldanha Bay. There's a storage facility close by. So gas will become more available. And once that happens, then we can get out and promote it. Because LP gas is ideally poised at the moment to really take off. If you consider the constraints we have with electricity and the power and the benefits that LP gas can offer, that market is going to mushroom. And there will be major opportunities for all sorts of people to get involved. So we are looking at things like hopefully manufacturing product in South Africa, appliances and the like, and encouraging people to get involved in being trained as installers. So we're looking at job creation. We're looking at creating better, more healthier environments for people to live in. So I think there's huge potential in this market.
The Department of Labour has played a critical role in all of this in terms of legislature and also making sure that regulation is in line with the industry. Can you tell us a little bit more, my brother, about the increase that you'd have to go through to make sure that this actually works?
In fact, what we have, as I explained this afternoon, we have the Occupational Health and Safety Act. We also have what we call the pressure equipment regulations.
Yeah.
And we also incorporated the South African standards from SABS. And what we have done is that we work together with the SAQCC to ensure that the people that are installing the gas, they are competent and they are registered with the SAQCC gas. But we have also ensured that you have equipment that is coming to South Africa validated whether it's safe through what we call the CVC.
Yeah.
But we also have the Safe Appliance Scheme to ensure that every appliance that is used for gas is safe.
In 30 seconds, I'm going to start with you, John. If we can just start and say, in a nutshell, what is it that gas offers to our consumer, which is much safer than paraffin and other alternatives? We've seen shack fires, we've seen the dangers that are around other alternative powers. What is it that gas offers to the South African market? We know about Operation Pakisa, for example, and it's taken place in KZN and the Eastern Cape. What would you say is the niche that has been created in terms of gas in the country? In 30 seconds, I want to give each and every one of you an opportunity.
Okay, gas is a very clean means of power,
yeah.
So it's very useful in that respect. And the other thing is that we must remember that you've got to be, as Jace was saying, got to be qualified to be able to install this gas.
Fantastic. Kevin?
Yeah, I think we have a product that is ideally suited to be used right here, right now. We have energy constraints, electricity constraints, and you have a product that doesn't require market research. It's not something that's going to come on board in 20 years' time. It's available right now. And the average person can use it and benefit from the use of it. Instant energy, available all the time, no power cuts with LP gas, and in a much cleaner, healthier environment.
Thank you very much. Fox?
I think we have ensured as a department that the appliances that are used for gas, they are safe. Also ensure that the storage of gas itself, the cylinders, they are safe through our regulations and standard. But we also ensure that the people that are maintaining and installing gas, these people are competent to ensure that the installation itself is safe.
I just want to thank you, gentlemen. I had a very fantastic summit this morning, and I hope and I wish all the best for you. I know you're doing a lot in terms of transformation and working with the Department of Labour as well. Shows that you are committed to your objectives, and I'm hoping that next time when I come there, that I'll have more food than what you've provided me this morning. Thank you very much, gentlemen. And that's all the time we have for Biz Pulse this evening. Thank you very much to all my guests, but most particularly the gas industry who participated in this particular one, and I'm hoping that a lot more people understand the importance of having gas as an alternative energy in their homes as we continue to grow in leaps and bounds to make sure that we have healthier and healthier ways of creating energy. Thank you very much. My name is Clive Matibela Smith, and to you, to a happy Pooza Thursday. Thank you very much. Have a great evening.
ready for the ANN 7 South African of the Year Awards, featuring performances by Lockenville, Mafikizolo, Freshly Ground, Mika